everything's working. I want to make sure the stream is coming through. I should probably actually tell people that I'm doing things here on Twitch. Ah, good. So the stream is coming through. That's a good start. And I think, yes, audio is coming through. Yeah, we're getting started. Good. I'm a bit Twitch rusty, so I apologise for that. So I'm going to drop a quick link in one of the chats just to get a few people here, get us started. That's if anybody wants to turn up, of course. And the purpose of this, because I'm going to be putting these on my Javid X9 extra channels, my year towards the end of this year, I suppose, is going to get a little bit busier. And I don't think I'm going to be able to make a video every couple of weeks. And so I thought it'd be good to get started with sort of a more casual, a more informal, sort of weekly kind of show about just messing about with code and one of my projects. Oh, and we have got some people in the chat. So hello, Danny Cron. Hello, Gorbit. Hello, Saladin. And hello, Alter Ego. Good. Excellent. Got some people here already. So I recognise these names from the Discord. And so I thought it would be good to have just an ongoing project. And I want this to be as informal and as relaxed as possible. I have no plans for what I want to do. I've got a bit of an idea. And I'm just going to take some time. Because there's quite a few projects I want to get done. And the only way I'm going to get them done is to force myself to do them. I keep thinking of these ideas and then thinking, oh, that'll make a great video series or something. And then I never get around to doing it. So instead, I want to just have these sort of live streams. I want to get the community involved. And I want to. Looks like you've lost quite a bit of weight. Well, I have been exercising. Yes, thank you very much. Hey, Magetup. Hey, Jacob. Stormborn waving there. Some new names that I don't recognise. Hello, XDE. Yes, I am live. I am here. Yes, and thank you for all those that follow on Twitch, having probably noticed that I've not streamed on Twitch for quite some time. Oh, Kieran here. Well, yes, morning, Kieran. So I'm not going to be repeating myself with everything I've just said. The idea is this is going to be laid back. It's going to be chilled. I'm hoping to do it probably every Tuesday around this time. It's only going to be for an hour and a half max, where we get some interaction. We can mess about with some code, and we're going to work slowly on a project as the year goes by. And it might also be interesting, maybe in some of the future shows, for want of a better phrase, where we get some people in to chat with us at the same time, and we can talk about code or whatever's on their mind. It's going to be, on the whole, reasonably chaotic, I imagine, because there is no plan. All I know is that I want to make a slightly larger than usual project, and I think the only way I'm going to get around to doing it is through doing it on a live stream like this. It's not meant to be like the YouTube channel. It's not meant to be an educational, deliberate tutorial. I hate the phrase tutorial. I don't consider my videos tutorials, but it's going to be a far more relaxed and just see what happens affair. So I know for some of you that like to fall asleep to the sound of my voice, first off, you're very weird. Secondly, I don't know if that's offensive or not to me. And thirdly, well, you can just put this on in the background and have a nice night's sleep. So let's just keep a quick glance at the chats periodically. The chats will be appearing, yes, they're appearing on the bottom left of the stream. And I think I get to see them now. If I'm looking up here, I'm looking at the chat. So what have we got here? Have you ever used C# before? I'm learning using it at work, and I'm curious on your opinions on it. Interestingly enough, we actually did a live stream on the Discord server about 2 weeks ago, where I did try C#, and I must confess, it didn't go very well. It took about 20 of us to work out how to do something pretty simple with a GUI. And so we didn't carry on with it after that. I was going to start learning C#. I wanted to try and get into it, and I thought, nope, just didn't like it. No sir, don't like it. I guess people in the chat will be far too young for Ren and Stimpy, won't you? Right, so what I was thinking of doing is I like spacey type games, and I like things like Elite, and I like 2D stuff, and I want to do something that involves all of these things. Hello from a Dominican in Canada. Yeah, we're going to get sort of interrupted periodically. Oh, hey, TW. TW is a previous Code Jam winner, by the way. Now, full disclosure, I do want to do this from scratch, but I did build a little prototype when was it? Probably about September last year. And I did share some videos of it, and I wanted to bring it up. When I was sort of experimenting with the networking code for the series on the YouTube channel at the moment, I thought it would be fun to sort of demonstrate it via a space-like game. And I started playing with a few ideas for rendering stuff. So this was this is the sun in the middle of a solar system. I've got to remember the buttons here. There we go. And you could zoom out, and it was kind of sort of real-worldy, physicsy sort of things. You had different planetary bodies orbiting, well, accurately was for want of a better word, and I was playing with it at the time, trying to emulate this illumination effect on the planets and a bit of an atmosphere, so things like the clouds. And you can see that the clouds and the planet rotating are not necessarily synchronized. And there's an atmosphere as well. I quite liked it. And the stars were persistent. And there was lots of interesting ideas going on here. Now let me go back to the sun, because the sun I was pretty pleased with. I don't know if it'll come up well on the Twitch stream, but it really gives the impression of heat. It took quite a bit of playing about. So if we go and have a look and zoom in on a sunspot, it does actually sort of move in around and drift and feed in and out of existence. I was quite pleased with how it turned out. And if I go to the edge of the sun, let's have a look at it here again, where there's a bit of you can see the sort of heat ripples and things. So I was pleased with that. And it never got beyond this, because they started to play with the ideas of how to render the stars persistently, and that's basically done like the procedural generation universe. And I like the idea of having everything sort of real size, so it took you quite a while to fly from one planet to the next. And the inevitable consequence of that is the universe, or the solar system in this case, is quite empty. But I thought there were bits of this I liked, and there were bits of it I didn't like, and it might be nice to start rethinking this project. And that's really what I wanted to do today. Let's just have another glance at the chats. Yeah, see, so Saladin remembers this. Hey, Terry, how you doing, guys? CPU, hello. Plasma Hunter, hi, Lone Coders. Yes, we're not that alone anymore. Oh, we got quite a few people of us watching, have we? Yeah, thank you, Wicked. Yes, it's pretty cool, and it's all done using, obviously, my little Pixel Game Engine toy thing, but this was a prototype done with a slightly older version, and we've added some new features since, which should allow us to make things, well, a little bit snazzier. I'm actually wondering if I could just immediately compile this and make it work in the browser. Is that worth testing? I think that's worth testing, isn't it? Because it's a nice little demonstration. Let me have a think about that for a second, because if I've got, yes, I've got everything here in this assets folder. Maybe it can actually just work. Now, some of you will be, this will be brand new to you. We have actually got a version of the Pixel Game Engine which now compiles into WebAssembly. Is that the right? Or WASM? WASM, that's the phrase, isn't it? And what I think we'll try, and this is what this whole show is going to be about. There's no plan. We're going to be jumping from topic to topic. There's absolutely no schedule involved. It's just going to be a complete mess. Let's have a look. How do, sir? Oh, you want to try? Want to see if we can get it to work? Yes, yes, Dander Steve. So yeah, you and I were talking about this quite a bit at the time, and I ended up with all sorts of different planetary bodies in there, and it just fizzled out. I got distracted a lot with work towards the end of last year. Those that have been chatting to me on the Discord knew that I actually had a very busy year at the end of last year, and this year is not looking like it's going to get any better. Certainly in the last 6 months of it. So what we'll do, right? So I have built a tool to help me compile this into WebAssembly. The only downside is, and I'm just thinking about it now, I actually need to link in the proper version of the Pixel Game Engine. So let's just go to Project Properties here. And we'll look at the release mode, all configurations, all platforms. I want to go to VCC directories, and I want to add to this my current install of the Pixel Game Engine. So I keep that in a folder called pgdev/, oh, I've already forgotten what it's called. Let's have a look. I'm just going to navigate through this slightly off screen, only because there's nothing dodgy to see, but there is sort of the titles of upcoming videos and things, which I do like to keep a little bit secret. So I'm just going to have a quick look. Get the folder for it. There we go. That's what I'm after. So I'm just going to link that in and paste that there. Deployment. click OK. Now, hopefully, that should find the correct version of... should find the correct version of the Pixel Game Engine. If it, just in case it doesn't, what I'm going to do is delete the one that's in this folder, or at least move it. Yes, because there is one there. So this is that thing. So I'm just going to just get rid of you for now. Right, so this should now pull in the very latest version of the Pixel Game Engine. So we can check that. If I open this document, oh, that's not good, is it? Let's try that again. Where are we? Game Core. Ah, there was statics, there we are. So that's where the Pixel Game Engine should be. Well, let's just compile it. What happens? Compiling is release. Okay, a few little warnings about casting. Hopefully that should be the latest version. Let's just double check that that is the case. Yeah, okay, so that was the document it was trying to open and it couldn't. So if I go to document, that's why it crashed. It couldn't find that document. That's okay. So hopefully that is building with the new version. We can just see if it runs at all. Maybe something changed and it doesn't work anymore. No, it looks okay. That looks like it's working. It's good. What is my main... Oh, yes, let's actually go back and look at some of these chats. Sorry if I do get distracted. I tend to just... because I'm just enjoying what I'm doing. Did you ever solve asteroids? That's a good question. So Danderstein knows a little bit about this project at the end of last year. No, and that might be one of the things that we want to solve this time. Just sort of sorting out rendering stuff that isn't necessarily needed to be rendering. What is my job? Yes, I design and build robotics for heavy industry. TGD, hey, yes, good to see me on Twitch. Well, I want to do something on Twitch. I actually like streaming on Twitch a little bit more than I like streaming on YouTube, certainly. You don't want to see my anime folder? Well, it's pretty empty. Yeah. There's an ongoing joke here. I'll be quite honest with you guys, I really don't like anime. And that's immediately, as I can see the number of viewers immediately drop off a cliff and everybody unfollows. It's perfect. I just don't see the appeal at all. Right, so what I wanted to do was run this tool. We'll get there. So I've built a tool which I will release with the next version of the Pixel Game Engine, which allows me to compile with the Inscript and build. So I go to Tools and I go to Inscript and Compile. Now, I might get some errors here. This is all totally uncharted territory. Let's see what's going on. Now, that started build without assets. That's wrong. It should build with assets. So we need to work out why that's doing what it's doing. We'll wait for it to finish the build, because at least if it finishes the build, that's an encouraging start. Oh, because I'm using STB image. Interesting. Okay. To tell you what, we won't use STB image then. That's because I'm using very large images for the planet. So first of all, we'll get rid of STB image. And then we need to work out why. Why are we not using the assets? Is it just simply because the folder? Is it really case sensitive? Is that really what's caught me out here? It's upper folder. So I actually need to rethink this bit. I'm going to destroy my project here. So we're going to put you in here. Yes, it tried to have a go at it. So I'll put the assets folder in there, which means now, of course, all of my things have moved around. So let's, there we go. So now it's just simply dot assets there for the space background. Oof, these assets are going to be all over the place. Here we go. This is going to ends up being a mess already. First episode, and we're getting stuck into flipping compiler and build setups. Let's have a look. So we'll do a local compile again and just make sure that this all still works before we continue with it. Right, I think that's all of the assets I'm using. Let's just see what happens there. General Leonept, morning. What's up, Slice? Well, we're trying. I mean, it's just we're totally gone off track already. I'm trying to compile a little demo I made at the end of last year in the WebAssembly. I just want to see if it works. So this time, starting build with assets. So the tool that I've built automatically detects the presence of that little assets folder and will include it into the WASM package. This is all language. I could be talking completely out of my arse here, but it's web stuff. I don't know what I'm talking about. I rely on others to do the web stuff for me. Why am I using Hungarian notation? It's a good question. One, probably because I've always used Hungarian notation and I've been doing this for 20 years. But two, and the honest, legitimate reason is when I'm working on large code bases, I've grown up in an environment where I don't use the IDE to help me identify the types of things. I can read this code very quickly, like a piece of music. I don't need it to identify anything. I can see this is a member variable of the class and it's a vector. Straight away. I don't need to memorize that. I can just read it. So I find Hungarian notation very useful. Anyway, the exciting part is here is the little script that said build complete. Exit with success. So if I go to Tools and now click in Script and Run. Now this is interesting. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's popped up on a different window. Let me just find that. I'll pull that tab over. So there's the tab. Doesn't look like it's it's not finished loading the graphics, or the graphics were too large, or it went in the wrong place to look for the graphics. So the fact that we can't see any imagery there, that's interesting. Did it just not find it? Is it not finding the assets? Have I got the assets in the wrong place? Don't know. Open the developer console, check the errors. What am I making? At the moment, nothing. We're trying to compile a application using the new Pixel game engine, which compiles to the browser. Right, so I want to work out why this hasn't worked. Have we not generated the folders that we need? See, I reckon this could be the case, right? The actual amount of data that needed to be loaded was 23 megabytes. I said the images were very large. Maybe the browser just gives up at that after a certain point, or we don't give it enough time to load everything. That's interesting. We'll have to have a think about that, and we will do in the dev channel on the Discord server. Where did I put the tab? Did I just close the tab? I think I just closed the tab. Let's run that again. Let's just see if we actually do get any useful output. In Script and Run. It's going to load it up there again, isn't it? You see, it does load very quickly, but I just think it doesn't give it time to load the images. So if we go to, Developer Tools. Failed to load resources. That's interesting, isn't it? So maybe it's just too big. I think maybe the file is too big to actually to run it. Right, guys, especially Danderstein and Morris and Saladin and Bispu, you guys need to get on that straight away. Work out what's going on. Have I any opinions on the new Jai language? No, I have not used it. And I have not been following Jonathan Blow's podcasts on it. So what do we got here? See, I don't know the first thing about web dev, so this is all alien to me. This is why I need people that understand web dev to try and work all of this out. It's nice to see that the Pixel game engine side of things is working. It's just failed completely to load the imagery. And I'm actually not convinced that it's created the file accurately. If you check the Network tab, you can check for the asset file. Network. Okay, I'm checking the Network tab. Yeah, the linker option is preload files. It should include that automatically. That's why it's created the data file. So that's not too bad. Press F5 to refresh. Okay, pressing F5 to refresh. Pressing it again. It does take a little while to sort of get there. So I'm guessing it's just giving up on the images. I'm pressing F5. Right? Click the failed request, should have some details. No buffer, no buffer. That's because it's trying to load an image, but the image is just not there at this point, I think. So I think it's just not loaded it. Interesting. Click the red PGE HTML. Right. This web stuff's just awful, isn't it? It's just too complicated. What are we looking for here? So this is kind of what I wanted the show to be, a complete sort of chaotic nightmare for me, and potentially, exactly, no wonder web devs are miserable. Keep getting lots of pings. I don't know what's going on because I can't see my thing. Oh, it's just YouTube subscriptions. Well, thank you to all of those guys that are subscribing. These tend to come in batches, so there might be a few. Is the server's working directory the same as the asset parent? We don't have a code. Are you? Yes, it's running something called script and run, which is a local server to do it. And it's actually running. It's running the application. It's just not loading up the data files. So we can see the stars are there, and we can actually interact and zoom in and out quite happily. It's just not loaded any of the graphics. Maybe it is something stupid that I've done here by quickly hacking this around. Maybe it is case sensitive. Is it case sensitive? Is it as simple as that? That my preload assets script, I think, is looking for lowercase a's. Now, well, if it doesn't survive a refresh, there's no point in telling me to refresh it then, is there? I'm going to just try and make sure it's not a case thing. I mean, the data file is there, so it's definitely created something. It just doesn't like to run it. It's created the assets file, GFX. I'm hoping that the preload file command actually is smart enough to go deeper than the one folder. So there's all of the assets that we want. Let's try. I just want to make sure that it's not something silly like it's case sensitive. So I'm going to change that to simple lowercase a. And I'll change these to a lowercase a as well. Now I know on Windows it doesn't matter, but it might just matter to Mscripted. But then again, it might not. We're exploring. They all look okay. That's loading the images correctly. We're not loading from resource packs or anything like that. It's all fine. Assets, assets, assets. Celestial body. There is no assets in that. Right, let's just run that locally. So this is running now a regular Windows C++ build, and we'll see if this works. So you can see it takes a long time now to load the imagery because I'm not using STB image. This is using WinGDI. Well, that seems fine. It's loaded the imagery. You can see that the images are actually quite large, so I would expect it to take some time to load it. So this required, just to run here, it requires 278 megabytes of memory. It could be the browser just going, whoa, hang on, you're not having that, mate. How debuggable is WASM? It is not. The resources are not found, probably because of the working directory. Perhaps the runtime is considering that the local working directory is different. Well, let's compile that again with the unscripted thing, and we'll just see if that has actually made a difference. I'm not so sure. Maybe, you know, I think it's more likely the browser's just going, you can't have that. You can't have that much graphics. But we'll find out. And if I don't find out, I know that there are people here that may be feeling a little compelled to try and work out what's going on. That's one of the nice things about this particular build of the Pixel game engine is it has been developed by the community, not me. So thanks goes to a lot of the other guys who have been working on this and testing it. Right, in script and run. So let's try you again. Script and run, where is it popping up? So it gets a progress bar, so it's trying to load the file, downloading the data. 22 meg it's got to download. I just don't think it likes it. I don't think it likes loading that much stuff. Let's close that one down whilst it's thinking about it. Where is the automatic Twitch-controlled arm robot? Oh, it's actually on the shelf behind me. We'll have to mount it to the car. Witty Bit, hello. Yes, we're watching a progress bar. That's a live stream with almost 100 viewers. flipping heck, watching a progress bar and the phrase downloading data. That's good to know that we've all got nothing better to do on a Tuesday evening. This looks to me like it has frozen at this point. I would have certainly expected this to have loaded by now. Then again, it could be waiting. It's got to. We knew that in the Pixel Game Engine version with full C++, using the full ability of my processor, it took about 10 seconds. So who knows what the web browser is actually going to take. Have a look at the dev console again. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting this thing exists. See, connection refused. Connection refused. Uncaught. Failed to fetch. Failed to fetch sounds promising, doesn't it? I don't know where to click. I don't know what to look at on here. I don't get paid enough to do this sort of stuff. This is why you should pay web devs a lot of money. The first one is bad. Failed to fetch the WASM file. The problem is I can't just double click and run it locally. It just won't work. Time to bust the good old Edge browser out. Well, I mean, previously it was loading. Now it's not at all. So I don't know if we just leave that running just for a little bit. I think it might be chewing away on something in the background there. You guys think it's just stuck? So let me try launching it again, maybe one last time. Let's have a go. Tools, and script and run. Oh. This time it liked it. There we go. So, well, there we are. So we wanted to demonstrate that actually it just does kind of work. We didn't need to do anything specific there. Maybe it was something like the cache was a bit full. But there's Pixel Game Engine running in the browser, right? And it's exactly the same C code. You saw that we didn't need to make any specific changes to anything. Now go and find the planet. There it is. So the planet's still running around. It's got a little moon. Oh, it's interesting. The moon's in a slightly different position. It must be using a different clock. Let's go. Just keep zooming in. So the frame rate feels a little bit slower, but you know what? It's livable. The stars will slow things down quite a bit. There's not enough fractals in my code. So, I mean, there we go. We got distracted straight away on the first episode of, I've not even named the show, but let's call it the CodeZone since I've written it down on a thing. That now the Pixel Game, you take your application, it just compiles straight away for the web browser. I'm really excited about this, and I'm really grateful to the guys that have helped develop it, because I think it opens the potential for jams considerably. There's some interesting sort of squashing going on up there. It's as if it's trying to fit it into this window, and it's not quite successfully done it. I'm reluctant to do things like go full screen at the moment because I don't know how well that'll affect the stream, so I'm not going to do that. But like I say, we did nothing and we can compile in the browser, and hopefully next weekend I'll be releasing all of this for everybody else to have a play with. Those that have had a go already and have been testing it, you know, they've reported some good results with it. Yeah, I like it. I like that a lot. Why it didn't run the first few times, I don't know. Maybe it does actually time out trying to load that big file or something, and we just got lucky second time around. Really don't know. It's a web dev problem. We need web devs. So yeah, one of the things that these are, of course, these are decals, as I've got to pronounce this now. Vitoral. It's Vitoral, or yeah, I don't know. I do see you on Twitter and on the Discord quite a bit, and you've been working with the first-person shooting engine. So I'm rubbish with pronouncing names. My guess would be it's cache related. Yeah, I kind of think that. I think it timed out. Maybe these are some experiments that we need to start running. Anyway, it does work, and that's the pleasing thing. We got there in the end. Right, so the plan was, before we got sidetracked with all of this, is I developed this little bit of a prototype at the end, well, sort of autumn last year. And I wanted to sort of rebuild it. I studied this a little bit and started to understand it, and then thought, you know what, it would actually make quite a fun game. And originally it was intended to be some sort of MMO thing, and I'm less convinced about that at the moment. I just wanted to try and re-implement this really from scratch, and I mean genuinely from scratch this time, brand new project, and try and make it look a little prettier, and maybe get a spaceship flying around and have some way of interrogating the stuff in the solar system. Unlike games like Elite, where you've got this entire galaxy to play with, they're fun, but you can't get to know the game very well. I like more confined space games, but the space has a lot going on in it, because that way you get to learn about the nooks and the crannies in the game. You get to really try and understand the detail, and I find that a lot more enjoyable than just, I've visited another 300 bland planets today. I'd rather everything just be a lot more detailed. I'm getting a warning from Twitch saying, is the video buffering? Use the low latency toggle under the advanced mode. I don't think it's buffering. We're not dropping any frames, are we, guys? Nope, I have 0 dropped frames, so I think it's doing okay. Can we cameo the spaceship model you made for the 3D series? Yes, you know what? We might do that, because this is also potentially a segue into another PegX that I'm releasing hopefully soon, which does allow full 3D graphics in the Pixel game engine. So we'll talk about that later, a little bit of a sneaky preview there. So I'm going to move this one out of the way. I'm going to cut and paste some of the maths from it later, and we know that we're going to start a brand new project called Space Thing, because I don't even have a name for it. I'll leave it up to the community to name it, and then I'll just ignore it later. So I think to begin with, we want to set up some project properties. Because I want to make sure, for some reason, I don't know why Visual Studio does this, a brand new project, it's empty, why do we not default to the latest standard of C++? So you have to go and do that manually now. And now I also want to specify the include directory. I've hopefully still got it pasted from before, right? No, of course not. That would be too simple, wouldn't it? PGE dev / OLC Pixel Game Engine. I think it's _dev / deploy. Was that the name of the folder? I think that was the name of the folder. We'll find out soon enough anyway. And to this, I'm going to add a new source file. It's always exciting doing a new source file. And I'm going to rather boringly add, first of all, OLC Pixel Game Engine, rather oddly. .cpp. Oh, I've spelled that wrong already. This is the difference between doing a video and a live stream, is I can edit stuff like that out. Right, let's zoom in a bit so you can all see what's going on. In this file, I am going to #include OLC Pixel. Come on. Oh dear, it's not done it. Game engine.h. So I'm guessing I did actually put in the wrong. Oh no, it's found it. That's not errored. I don't know. Don't know what's going on there. And before we do this, I'm also going to #define OLC PGE application. And that's all I'm going to put in this file. So this is a trick that us PGE aficionados do to allow us to have the Pixel Game Engine accessible in multiple source files. I know on the YouTube channel you see me do everything with one file. That's not always convenient for slightly larger projects. So now I'm going to add another source file. And we'll just call this main game for now. I'm just coming up with something, I don't know. And if we go on here, now before when I was right-clicking on this and going go to document, it just didn't work, but now it has. Oh, and you get to see the new organizational features I've added to the Pixel Gaming. We have regions. It's only took, what, 2 years? 2 years to get some regions. And so now if you do want to sort of explore the Pixel Game Engine, you can collapse all of the regions and see which section does what. So I want this example, because that's where I always start. We'll start by copying. Pasting you, there we go, bring you into here. I'll just zoom out just a tad. I'm streaming at 720 because frankly I don't have brilliant internet here for uploading, so that's why I use a slightly lower resolution for uploading. And what do I actually want to include in here? I want to yet again include OLC Pixel Game Engine. Pixel Gam Engine, that's going to happen a lot, isn't it? There we go. So let's just see if that has compiled. It has. Let's just see if that runs. It does, and that will definitely kill the stream. But I just want to prove a point. I want to prove a point. I'm going to in script and compile this demonstration. So that's the simple example code project. Build completed, execute with success, and now in script and run. So this time it's not got to load any imagery. In script and run, where's that going to load? Of course it loads up here. Oh, it didn't work, Saladin, it didn't work. We get a 404 error. I don't even know what that means. Didn't work. Why didn't it work? It's still running, apparently. Let's try that again. I think there's something about the inscript and run environment that doesn't like having multiple instances of it. Let's try again. 404. Oh, I'm not impressed. Right, guys, I'm having words with the team after this stream. Ugh. Oh, that's really annoyed me, actually. I kind of want to work out what's going on there. And I think it might actually be that we didn't compile everything. Let's just stop that. And instead of compile, I was selecting compile target. Maybe it should be compile absolutely everything, because it wasn't compiling in the Pixel game engine. This is one of the downsides. If it all kind of works on your desktop, the actual output you get from the inscripted environment is a bit weak. So I'm just going to try that one last time. Inscript and run. There we go. That's better. There we are. And so there it is, running in the browser. It's exactly the same demo. Right. Good. So I've proven that that works. The problem I was doing something called compiling the whole folder or compiling just a single CPP file. And yes, it doesn't look like it tidies up that stop command either. Anyway, so we've got that running. That's good. So we'll call this the CodeZone space thing. And we'll also call this space thing 2. Potentially our main game. We may as well start naming things properly. And I think we probably do want a reasonably high def application. Why not? So 1280 by 720, because we know that everybody's got widescreen monitors these days. I'm just going to go with 1 and 1 for now. I'm certainly not going to draw a pixel every frame for those. We'll start tidying these things up. Have a quick glance at the chat and a sip of water, actually. You intend to melt mobile browsers. Well, we did try actually running it on iOS. Now, iOS is a bit of a problem. I don't understand Apple and I don't understand web. So when you combine the two together, it's all very, very confusing. But I did give a demonstration. In fact, should we post a link of this demonstration? Let me find it. Hang on a second. HTTP community /demo. That's the one. Demo 3D4. Okay, so I'm going to drop a link in the Twitch chat, which is a link that we've been pushing around a little bit because it's an interesting test for different browsers to try and run this. It'd be interesting to see what your responses are. So the purpose of this is the end part of my video series I did about making your own software renderer. And the final result was this Spyro the Dragon-like level and moving around. And it works on everything except iOS. And to make it work on iOS, you have to go into your settings and enable WebGL. And then it works on iOS, no problems. Obviously, it's difficult on mobile to press the W, A, S, and D keys, but you should be able to move the logo around with the mouse. Will I make a guide on how to make an actual engine like the console game engine? I've never thought about doing one specifically, simply because I've done 100 videos on YouTube, and all of them kind of, each video adds a little bit more to it, or fixes a bit more, shows off another feature of it. I don't know if it's necessarily the objective of my output to show people how to set up OpenGL and how to create a window, and there's loads of resources that do that. So it's running perfectly there. Good. Oh, I'm pleased that that's running well. It'd be useful if you do have a device and you've just clicked that link and it's just not working. It should I'll show you what it should look like. Let me pop it up. So it's just this URL. And it's on one of our pages, and if you can move it, if you've watched my 3D series, you've seen this before. So this is completely software rendered. It is just exactly that demonstration, so you can see all the glitches in the graphics. We talked about that in the video, with some mouse input too. And that runs very nicely in the browser. I was actually surprised how well that ran in the browser. I'm quite impressed with the WebGL stuff. So this isn't using your graphics card in any way. This is entirely a software calculated rendering system. Anyway, so that's what you should be looking at. It's just a Pixel Game Engine application compiled for the browser. The seam issue was actually the nature of the texture. The texture has those seams on it. It looks like when they ripped the texture from the original asset, whatever they ripped it with had those seams there. It exists in that texture. I could change my sampling algorithm to ignore the first row and column of the texture, but you know, then it's not true to form. I think it's also the PlayStation actually did something similar to that when it was rendering it, but I don't know enough about the PlayStation internals to honestly speak about it with any confidence. Just catching up with some of the chats again. Good, so the site's working. Yeah, the site's looking good. So thank you to Saladin. He's a subtle hint there. He's basically subtle hint from Saladin is being kicked in the head. Saladin helped create the look and feel of the community website along with Morris. So thank you to those guys for sorting that out. I'm currently studying computer games development and computer graphics. It's quite difficult, not going to lie, but I love C++ programming. Good stuff. However, I find it really hard to make myself sit down coding. Any advice on motivating myself? It's difficult. One of the things I've noticed from a lot of people in this community is that they've got so much ambition that they become overwhelmed. It's not really a lack of motivation. It's that you set your sights so high that you demotivate yourself when you try to do the task. And you'd be surprised how quickly, if you just take smaller steps, smaller little jumps in what you think you can achieve, just how quickly you'll progress. And I've seen it happen. I've seen people come to the server with no real previous experience, and within 6 months they've got fantastic demos they're really proud of up and running, just because they've taken it step by step by step, rather than jumping in saying, right, the first thing I'm going to make is some massive multiplayer online game with loads of role-playing game elements, and I'm going to have... that's just not realistic. You like it or not, you're going to end up writing tic-tac-toe, you're going to do Minesweeper, and then you're going to end up with a few little tiles on the screen. Just bring in those expectations, but before you know it, you'll be able to create really awesome stuff. It's very satisfying that way. I find it easier to motivate myself if I write code for one of my ideas. Yeah, and that's another thing. That's a really good point, actually. Write code for stuff that you actually care about. You know, it always puzzles me, and one of the reasons I set up the channel is you see people giving programming lessons and demonstrations and saying, right now what we're going to do is print the Fibonacci sequence in the command prompt. I said, who wants to print the flipping Fibonacci sequence? Do something fun, right? You've got to make it fun. Coding's always fun. When I was learning to code, I was 10 years old. I wasn't printing out the Fibonacci sequence. I was getting my name spazzed all over the screen in different colours and lots of noises coming out of the thing. That's what you want, not sort of these really dull exercises about data structures and algorithms. What API do I use for graphics programming? Yeah, Danderstein said that PG uses OpenGL. It can actually have a few different things. Thank you, Luby. You don't need to make a donation, but I appreciate the thought. There was a Fibonacci joke going around on the server this week. Did anybody see it? Somebody reposted it because I thought it was actually very, very funny. And I hadn't seen it before. It's a proper like old man joke, I suppose. Right, so we've not got very far with this project, have we? We've been completely distracted. How were we up to? Oh, we've still got about 15 minutes left. Okay. So what do we actually want to do first? Well, let's have a look at the... we probably do want to draw some sort of planet. I do want the ability to zoom in and pan around the universe, so I'm going to pull in the child transform view, which is something you've seen me use now in a couple of videos. I just have to remember how to use it. So I'm going to... should already be linked up to that deploy folder, because that's where I keep all my stuff. And if I go OLC PegX, is that right? What's it called? Yes. Include transformview.h. I don't know why it's not popping up as a file that exists. No, I'm guessing Visual Studio is being a little bit slow today. Hash define OLC PegX transformed view. And yes, to my shame, I can't touch type. Sorry, guys, I just can't do it. I have to look at the keys when I'm typing. So that's why you'll see lots of typos appear for me. Right, so once I've got my transform view, I'll go back to my main game. I'm going to create an instance of it. And we'll see transformed view. See, it's not popped up. That's because I need to include it as well, don't I? Yeah, that's interesting that it's not finding these folders. Let's see. TV. Oh dear. TV. And we want to initialize that. I'm not using the tile one because we're going to do everything sort of in real world space. So we need to initialize that with the view area, which is the screen width, screen height. I can't even remember now if I've added a feature for getting the screen size as a vector. And my pixel scale is going to be 1 by 1. Now we may change that later because we're going to be dealing with sort of interplanetary level scales. I've already forgotten the code that I need to include for panning and zooming this. So I'm going to pull that out of an existing file that I've got somewhere. Where have I been working recently with stuff? Let's go to the repo and actually pull that out. So one lone coder, GitHub, perfect. Pixel game engine, and go to where do I keep my stuff? Videos. There we go. Which was the video we did recently? It was Circles versus Rect. That had it, didn't it? Circles versus Rect. Get wrecked. There it is. Handle, pan, and zoom. I'm just going to grab that, and I'm going to waz that straight into there. No problem at all. And then I'm going to, let's just clear and just make sure that this is working. I'm going to clear that to black because space is black, isn't it? We'll start there. And I just want to draw a circle. And we'll draw it at the origin of the world. And its radius is going to be 100. And it's going to be white. And I just want to make sure that that actually starts. Well, there's a circle, I can pan and drag, and I can zoom in and out. Great, so immediately we've solved the scaling and perception issue of the entire universe. One of the things that we didn't do, well, I didn't do in that previous demo, was I never actually clipped anything. I just drew the entire solar system in one go, which is probably not ideal. So I think we do want to put in some sort of clipping, but we'll worry about that when we get a little bit more of the architecture down later. Let's quickly glance at the chat. Oh, hang on, I've been pinged. It doesn't make a noise, so I don't know what happens. Probably not. I remember asking about a function to get the mouse position as a vector. Yeah, well, that's what you get for whinging, right, Terry? I told you, I was live streaming, you were bitching and moaning about not having this particular feature, and as a result, as a consequence, you've been immortalized in the Pixel Game Engine header file. But remember, both of them is extremely advanced. Okay. Fair enough. If you do get into Vulkan, everybody's all about Vulkan at the moment. Anyway, okay, we've got a circle that we can zoom around in our universe. That's very nice. Right, so once we've got our circle, we could potentially start looking at how we draw the planets. Now, one of the things I'm reluctant to do is just starting to copy and paste everything from that little bit of a tech demo. Because I don't necessarily feel that was the best way to do it, but the foundations were kind of right. And I think we do want something that represents a body that floats about in this solar system. So I am going to add a class, new item, specifically a class, and I'm going to call that, as I did before, Celestial Body. Don't know if that sounds rude or not. Don't want to put a .h at the end. There we go. That would be annoying, wouldn't it? So Celestial Body. Hang on. Why is that not created a proper class for me? Did I choose a CPP file instead of class? This is going really well, isn't it? Right, delete you. Where's my class? Give me a class. Add. Class. That looks better. That's the one I want, isn't it? See, celestial body. And base class, no, it is going to be the base class for things. Okay, perfect. And, well, was a constructor in there straight away. Oh, there we go. It had to happen. Public and see celestial body. Celestial body. Just to get us started, because it's going to be some stuff in there. Now, should I do everything in sort of header files, or should I actually do this properly and split things in between the two? I think I'm going to have to do this properly, aren't I? So if I pull out celestial body.cpp, we'll do something we don't normally do on the videos, but this is how I typically code. Why isn't that? No, come on, Visual Studio. No, don't do this to me now. What? No. Visual Studio death. Bang, it's gone. Would you like to recover these? Yes, damn right I want to recover these files. You dodgy GUI layout system. Oh, it's recovered the... Oh no, it recovered the right thing. Sorry, Visual Studio, I was being mean. Right, so let's try that again. Very gently trying to put this in the right place now. Oh! Straight up Visual Studio death. That's no good. Who do I complain to? I need to complain to somebody about that. That's just disgraceful. What's going on? Space thing. Well, obviously I'm not partitioning my windows into two different halves, am I? Oh. Yeah, the whole chat goes nuts now about going, oh, Visual, we never told you about Visual Studio. Actually, this is one of those little bugs. Do you know, I've noticed it all week. It's been happening. And somebody brought it up on the Discord server this week that they've experienced the same thing. Whenever you try to reposition one of the windows, it's just freezing out. And I've been told that the latest update to Visual Studio does actually fix that. It was the previous update that was a problem, but the latest one does do it. I've not updated to the latest. I always tend to wait a couple of versions, but I guess my hands are tied on that. So they did introduce some sort of GUI breaking bug, which stops you from moving files around like that. If you dock Windows, yeah, Visual Studio is going to crash at the moment. It is perfect, isn't it? It's as you add new features, you're just adding bugs. It's worked for almost 20 years. I started with Visual Studio 5. You couldn't have multiple tabs back then, but I think, was it Visual Studio 2008? You could start to have multiple panes, and that's all been fine. It's just this last but one version of Visual Studio has become a problem. Anyway, there we go. At least the Linux nerds will have something to scream about on the Discord server later, no doubt. Well, at the moment I can't put my celestial body class into two different files without crashing my development environment. So we'll just have to do this. We'll have to do this the dumb way. Oh, it didn't even save my constructor after I made all of that deliberate effort to spell public wrong as well. So let's see. Says recovered the file. Did it? Heck, didn't recover the file at all, did it? Right, so right click on you, quick actions refactoring, create a declaration and definition. Well, it didn't crash then, so that's good. I'm not even going to, normally I could click on this and sort of drag it up there, and I'm just not even going to try because we've already not got much long left. So I'm going to have a celestial body, and I guess the first thing I want is how am I going to do this? I wanted to do this in a way that was sort of self-organizing. So I may need to channel my inner Ericsson here and think about the physics. In fact, I think Ericsson helped me first time round with the physics for this, the orbital mechanics physics. Now, I've got to be very careful here. I just want mine to be clever circles that relate to each other. I don't necessarily want it to be the full real deal solar system simulation. Let somebody else worry about the complexities of that. But I imagine that we have some basic properties. One of which, oh dear, one of which is going to be the radius or the size of the planet. So let's use doubles for a change. We use floats for everything. Let's use doubles. Is that going to cause us a problem? Because if I'm drawing things later on, am I just going to be all casting? No, I think we'll use floats because as the C++ compiler gets more mature, all that seems to mean is it doesn't tolerate casting quite as much, and so you get far more errors than you used to trying to cast stuff. It's just making life more difficult. I'm going to have a quick glance at some of the chats. Yes, Visual Studio does have the best debugger. It sounds like a really stupid question, but any chance you could demo file in and output in C++? I only find out about the basics, but I can't see how to read files in that has a different type of data in them with strings and ints in every line. We've probably not got enough time right now for that, but we will probably be doing that in a future episode, I'm sure. I'm trying to think, have I got a video where I've actually done some file input and output like that? And I think we did in one of the role-playing games where we were loading up the map, because the map was stored as strings and numbers. And we've certainly done that in the 3D series, part 2, where we loaded up the data in a wavefront object file, because that is just strings and numbers, and you have to read them in the right order. So I'd check out the code for that. If we have a look at the Pixel Game Engine and go to, we must have a 3D one here. Do I have a 3D one here? Doesn't look like I have a 3D one there. Oh, if I go to extensions and graphics 3D, have a look in here. And what I'm looking for specifically is load object file. Let's go to that. Oh, there we go. So here we have some code blinding everybody right now. Here we have some code which creates an IF stream, checks if it's open, and then it sits in a loop, and it'll loop until it reaches the end of the file. And this one's very simple. It just reads in the whole line. It assumes the lines are under 128 characters. That's pretty poor, actually, but it's one way to do it. It just reads in one line of the file at a time. Once it's read that line in, it shoves that line into something called a string stream. And the string stream allows you to just parse the file as if you were looking at it on a console, like a standard cin state of affairs. So here I'm reading in junk, which is a char, and then that one's a char, and then I'm reading in a float type a couple of times. So that makes reading in from the files very simple. You can actually read in from the files directly like this too. You don't have to create a string stream in between. But I wanted to do some analysis on it. So there's a bit of code there you might want to have a quick glance at. There's not much, that's it, it's very simple. The complexity of this code is actually what it does with the data once it's read it, but reading the data itself is reasonably trivial, I think. So that file was, just in case you do want it as a reference, was Pixel Game Engine extensions PegX graphics 3D.h. It's a software render. Basically, it's that series of videos has been converted into an extension that people can use. So maybe that'll help start with something. I don't know. MIDI, yeah, MIDI actually did. MIDI was more binary, wasn't it? That was a binary input. So I'm just looking back at the chats here. The chats don't reflect what's on the screen anymore. Yeah, I did read in the files with MIDI, but that was reading them in binary mode. Programming the differential equations to figure out the paths of the orbits of various planets. Well, full disclosure, I'm not cheating as such, but I have actually worked out, or I say Wikipedia has worked out for me, a few simple equations to try and work out what was going on with the planets. Now, I figured that it would be really good to do some realistic simulation, and that's how this started. I just wanted to build up our solar system, and I put in all of this information. I put in all of our planets. I put in the right dimensions. I put in the distances from the sun and all that sort of thing, and it was boring. Do you know how empty space really is? Like, it took forever to get from one planet to the next, and whenever you zoomed out to see the sun in its entirety, you just couldn't see any of the planets. They were specks X. They barely even registered as a pixel, which, you know, it occurred to me then, actually, I need to sort of handcraft a slightly more enjoyable solar system than one that's just full of empty space, or one where it literally took 3 years to traverse the surface of the sun. So scaling was an interesting problem, which we'll have to have a look at as part of this project, because I imagine if we want to fly around the solar system, we don't want it to take literal years to move from planet to planet. So we have to think about, you know, the reality of moving around this solar system. So yes, well, we're approaching sort of the end of my sort of CodeZone stream. Now, for those that have joined late, this is something I'm going to do weekly. It's just a Tuesday evening thing. I might do it another night. And I'm also not saying that I'm not going to work on these things off stream. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. The whole point is I just want to be streaming a little bit more. I enjoyed the streaming when I first started the channel. I don't do it as much as I used to. And streaming on YouTube is a little bit intimidating now because you get quite a large audience. And it also allows me to not be YouTube Javid X9. If you know what I mean, I can be a lot more sort of casual and silly and daft, and we can make the mistakes and have some fun together. It's good having a chat with the people in the audience as well. So will you please upload to your YouTube channel? Yes, so what I will be doing with all of these streams, I will be uploading them to Javid X9 Extra, which, if you didn't realise, I have an additional
Hello, and today we're going to be programming something different. We're going to be programming some food.
We're going to be programming some food. So this channel has lots of streams and silliness that we've been doing over the last year. Typically, it's mostly all code related, but not always. And usually, it has some videos that accompany the main channel too. One of the things that is worth a look, and I'm going to be a bit promoting here, why not? There's a small series on here which I'm quite pleased with, and it started here, Behind the Code, 8 bits of image processing, where I documented the development of that entire video from start to finish to launching it. And it was interesting for people to actually see just, there's quite a bit of work goes into some of these things. So I recommend that you watch that. But you can see there's actually quite a few daft, silly things too. Yeah, so all of the streams will be going up here, I think. And I can't upload them, oddly, for 24 hours. That's the only downside because of my agreement with YouTube and Twitch. So it'll have to go up in a day's time. Prepare a robot arm that cooks. You can make a channel about electronic stuff. Yeah, I could do, but I do that during the day. I don't want to be doing sort of electronics and robots and stuff all throughout the day and then coming home and doing it. This is where you can actually see the robot arm attack me with a screwdriver. Where is it? It's one of those videos anyway. Can you quickly show me that file again? Which one's that one? The PegX file for the reading in from a stream. That one was... There we go. So it's Pixel Game Engine's repo. So that's on github.com, one low coder, Pixel Game Engine. You can click on the extensions folder and then the graphics 3D header file. And the line that you're interested in is... And we'll find that again. The line that you're interested in is 861. Do you know what I can do for you there? I can click on that. I can click that. I can create a permalink. And I can... Where am I typing? I can put that there. So there's a direct link to the function that you need. Make a program that cleans your desktop. Well, maybe I could get around to that. Right, thank you very much, guys. I've had a lot of fun. I hope you've enjoyed the format and the silliness, and we didn't get much coding done, did we, to be honest? But I'll be around on the Discord server after that. Unfortunately, I've got nobody that sort of said, hey, send me all of your viewers. So I've not got anywhere to send you. I'm not really part of any online clans or groups or anything like that. So I will love you and leave you, and take care. See you all next time. Bye-bye.